Boycott Blues, written by Andrea Davis Pinkney and illustrated by Brian Pinkney. How Rosa Parks inspired a nation. Here are some vocabulary words that we want to pull from the story to help you get a better understanding of our story. Segregation is the separation or isolation of a race, class, or ethnic group by enforced or voluntary residence in a restricted area, by barriers to social intercourse, by separate educational facilities, or by other discriminatory means. Jim Crow or Jim Crow era is an era of ethnic discrimination, especially against blacks, by legal enforcement or traditional sanctions. Bail, a temporary release of a prisoner in exchange for a security, which is usually a monetary security. And the last word we're going to look at is boycott, to engage in a concerted refusal to have dealings with a person, a store, organization, etc., usually to express disapproval or to force acceptance of certain conditions. These definitions come from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. The main character in our story is Rosa Parks. You can see her picture here. Rosa Parks, born in 1913 and died in 2005, was a civil rights activist who refused to surrender her seat to a white passenger on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her defiance sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Its success launched nationwide efforts to end racial segregation of public facilities. More information on Rosa Parks can be found at biography.com/activist/Rosa-Parks. And finally, the Montgomery bus boycott was a civil rights protest during which African Americans refused to ride city buses in Montgomery, Alabama, to protest segregated seating. The boycott took place from December 5, 1955 to December 20th, 1956, and is regarded as the first large-scale U.S. demonstration against segregation. 4 days before the boycott began, Rosa Parks, an African American woman, was arrested and fined for refusing to yield her bus seat to a white man. The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately ordered Montgomery to integrate its bus system, and one of the leaders of the boycott, a young pastor named Martin Luther King Jr., emerged as a prominent leader of the civil rights movement. More information can be found at history.com/topics/black-history/Montgomery-bus-boycott. Now that we've gone over some background information of our story, let us begin reading Boycott Blues, How Rosa Parks Inspired a Nation, written by Andrea Davis Pinkney and illustrated by Brian Pinkney.
Child, child, you have not known weary till you have walked in my shoes. You have not known low down till you have sung my song. You ever hear a dog wail? You ever hear a hound moan? Well, listen good, because here it is, steady, slow. A story told with steps, with tired feet, with tired bones. I'm going to tell you the story with my guitar, so you don't forget, so you know how it goes. Dog tired. That's me. This story begins with shoes. This story is all for true. This story walks, and walks, and walks, to the blues.
It was December 1st, 1955, when the blues came to call. The same day Jim Crow flew in waving his bony wings. Bony wings and all. Jim Crow landed with a will. Yes, he did, child, yes, he did. Jim Crow was segregation, laws that black people and white people could not mix. And on that day it was Rosa Parks who got Jim Crow's peck, 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 right up close. Rosa Parks was a seamstress who worked at the Montgomery Fair department store. On that blue as blue evening, Rosa's workday ended like any other. She stepped onto the Cleveland Avenue bus and paid her dime to ride. This bus was packed tight, but Rosa spotted an empty seat 1 row behind the whites-only section. She sat down. When the bus pulled up at the Empire Theater, several white people got on. All but one of them found seats. The last was left standing. That's when Jim Crow strode up, strutting. Whenever Jim Crow got to laying down the letter of the law, to stating the state of segregation, he did it with his peck, peck, peck. And on this day, Jim Crow's peck was a duet. He was letting it fly with the bus driver, who, along with Jim Crow, stood over Rosa and told her to give up her seat to a white man who was still standing. Even with that blue-black wing pressed at Rosa's nose. Even with the bus driver's finger waving at Rosa. Even with Jim Crow's peck, peck, peck sounding like rust on a bed spring, Rosa stayed seated. Twice the bus driver told Rosa to move. Twice she looked at him without blinking, then turned her eye to Jim Crow. All she said was no. "You're breaking my law," Jim Crow cooned. The bus driver said he'd call the police. Rosa told him to go ahead. The police arrested Rosa and took her to jail. Rosa's friend, E.D. Nixon, raised money for Rosa's bail. He got her released and told Rosa that if she were brave enough, she could stomp out Jim Crow. She could break those bony wings. She could stop Jim Crow's peck, peck, peck. She could help end segregation. Rosa agreed right away. On December 5th, 1955, the black people in town stopped riding the city buses. They were protesting the treatment Rosa had received. That night, at the Holt Street Baptist Church, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke to the people of Montgomery. "Child, child, I have put my doggy tail in that church every Sunday, but I have never seen so many folks at Holt. People came from all over to hear the great Dr. King. He said that we should fight until justice runs down like a mighty stream, and fight we did. We fought a quiet fight. No slingshots, no weapons, not even spitballs. We fought with our feet. We said if you don't, we won't. If you don't let us ride in any seat we wish, we won't ride at all. If you don't treat us fairly, we won't pay the fare. If we don't pay the fare, you won't have a bus business. And we won't let Jim Crow smack us back with his bony wings, or slow us up with his peck, peck, peck. We won't." And we stood by our word. Yes, we did. Child, yes, we did. That's when our feet took to the streets, to the sidewalks, to the roads. That's when the city buses rolled and rolled. Nearly empty, they rolled. That's when the Boycott Blues truly began. When we walked, with dogged feet, with dog-tired feet, with boycott feet, with Boycott Blues. 90 days passed. We kept on. 100 days gone. We stayed strong. We walked in the rain. We did. We walked at night and day. We did. We walked for our fight. We did. Yes, we did. Child. We did. 120 days. 130. 150. Walk to work we did. Walk to school we did. Walk to church we did. Yes, we did, child. Yes, we did. 180 days of walking. 100 degrees in the shade. Sidewalks steaming. Sweaty faces gleaming. Hot dust rising off the roads. And the buses rolled and rolled. When the blues burned so blue hot that they turned our beat to a deep blue shade of determination, we found a way out of no way. We found other modes to get to where we needed to go. Soon, instead of only walking, we rode. Rode with our friends, we did. Rode with kind strangers, we did. Rode past those empty buses, we did. We did. Yes, child, we did. Didn't set foot on a bus either. No, sir, we didn't. Wouldn't pay our dime to ride either. We still got where we needed to go. We still stood by Rosa Parks for saying no. But Jim Crow was determined. He kept up with his bony wings and his peck, peck, peck. 200 days later, we were still going. Blues and all, we pressed on. It wasn't all black votes boycotting either. Some white people came along for the ride too, to show us support, to help end Jim Crow. Soon there were all kinds of people with keep going feet, with can't stop us feet. There were black folks and white folks with the boycott blues. And time walked on and on. Day 220, day 262. 300 days of walking with the boycott blues. As strong as we were, some wanted to quit, and child, I can't say I blame them. After all, when you've been walking from December to November, a bus begins to look like a sweet temptation, even if it means riding in the back, even if Jim Crow sits in your lap. When I saw somebody start to go down that road, when I heard somebody say, "What's the use? I'm paying my dime to ride," I played my guitar as loud as I could to drown out Jim Crow's peck, 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 to stir up a rhythm worth of following, to somehow soften those boycott blues. Just a few more steps, and we're there. I strummed my message loud and clear. Then came the miracle. The Supreme Court invited Jim Crow in for a visit and waved a gavel on his bony wings. The judge in the courthouse said, "Jim, you're all wrong." Right then, Jim Crow grew tired. His bony wings started to ache. His peck, peck, peck began to lose its point. Oh, child, it was a happy day. On November 13th, 1956, when the Supreme Court struck down the segregation laws, the bus drivers of Montgomery, Alabama were forced to say, "We will. We will let black people sit wherever they want to on city buses. We will not practice segregation anymore." And the black folks of Montgomery said, "We will. We will pay our dime. We will ride with pride. We will sit at the front of the bus and enjoy our new view of justice." On December 21st, 1956, the law was official. Soon after, black people had a front row seat right behind the driver. So did Rosa Parks. That was day 382, when Jim Crow flew away. He had no more power in Montgomery. It was the blues that got us through. It was the blues that helped our stride, because blue is a so fine color when it's painting the sky. Blue is the promise of possibility when it's coming as the dawn. Blue is all beauty when it's flowing through a sea of hope. Now segregation was a loser's croon, and child, we rejoiced. Our lowdown tune changed to a celebration song. So child, that's the end of my tale. Now you know how it goes. Now you see the power of Won't Stop shoes. Now you know the story of the boycott blues. Time to hightail it home. Bony wings, adieu. Peck, 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 later for you. Bye bye, boycott blues. The term Jim Crow is derived from a song performed in minstrel shows during the 1830s. Use of the term, which refers to the separation of races in public places, became popular in the 1880s when racial segregation was made legal in many parts of the United States. For this story, the author has taken liberty of depicting Jim Crow as a menacing bird to give characterization to segregation's ugly reality.